Hi, this is Dan from Tornado Talk. Please take a moment to go to our website, tornadotalk.com, and click Support the Show on the menu. As you know, we offer this podcast free, but it is not free to produce. We accrue monthly costs, including writing, researching, recording, editing, and producing. Now, if you click the donate button on that page, you can help us underwrite the cause. That's tornadotalk.com. Click Support the Show on the menu, and then you'll see the donate button. And thank you in advance.
This is Tornado Talk, a podcast about one of nature's most fascinating phenomenon. Share your tornado story with us by email, Jen and Dan at tornadotalk.com. That's Jen and Dan at tornadotalk.com. Now, meteorologists Jennifer Naramore and Dan Holliday. Tornado Talk is on.
We will do just about anything to see a tornado.
I save thousands of dollars every year by just not staying in hotels. I just sleep in my car on storm chases, whether it's like a back road or a parking lot somewhere, and just wake up and get ready to go.
But do we go too far and put our life at risk?
There's some video out there where there's like stuff flying around and they're just too close. And it's just a matter of time before another fatality occurs. I hope I'm wrong.
This is Tornado Talk. Our panel of 4 storm chasers and 2 emergency managers each talk about the challenges of achieving their goal, and not all of them are the same. There's nothing that gets the adrenaline going like seeing a tornado, for real, right in front of your eyes. But where do we draw the line when it comes to getting the best look at it? How close is too close?
Closer to you, get closer to me. Don't stand so close to me.
Scott Roberts has spent much of his professional career in radio and television. Right now, he's a dispatcher for an air medical service in Kansas. He lives in the town of Hayesville, but when storm season is in full swing, he assists the team at KWCH-TV in tracking severe weather. How close is too close to get to a tornado? He says that changes each time he's out in the field.
I think it depends entirely on the storm. Let me give you a couple of different examples. Greensburg is a good one. The closest point I ever was to that tornado in its large phase was about 4 miles to the southeast, and that was plenty close enough for me. On the other side of it, I was a little less than 3/4 of a mile from the Moore tornado, but had a real good handle on its speed, on its relation to me, on where I was in relation to it. And we had a good, safe out, and that's also a difference between a daytime and a nighttime storm. I definitely play nighttime storms further back and tend to try to stay away from chasing nighttime storms because, well, really the last time I did a solid nighttime chase would have been the Oak Lawn tornado in 2012, and that one chased me. So I actually we ended up, as we like to say, picking the lure from our butt for several days. It was pretty close. At points we projected, after we went back and traced our GPS track and went with the official track and times from the Weather Service, there were points that it was within about a mile to a mile and a half behind us. And of course we couldn't see anything because we had it was behind us, and all of our data had quit, and so we were just running, and I don't want to be in that situation.
Aaron Rigsby lives in Marysville, Ohio. He fell in love with weather in 2010. That's when Aaron started taking pictures of lightning and storms. But when a tornado affected his community in June of that year, his storm chasing career began. How close is too close to get to a tornado?
My take on that is, who am I to tell people how to storm chase? It's one of them things that's a very touchy subject, especially, after the most recent events. And the way I see it is, the more you storm chase, the more comfortable you're going to get storm chasing. And the closer you're going to start nudging to these tornadoes. When you're first getting into this, you're not totally sure, what you're doing. You're just getting into this. You're learning the basics. And, over the years, you pick up on little things. You start chasing with other people that are more experienced. You start getting a little bit closer and a little bit closer. Me, personally, over the years of chasing, I didn't start out, my first year chasing, driving into the outer circulation of tornadoes. I didn't gloat about how close I got on Facebook, and I still don't. I've gotten comfortable enough to where I can position myself closely to these tornadoes and capture that raw power while maintaining situational awareness. That's the biggest key if you're planning on getting close to these tornadoes, is being situationally aware. You can't let your guard down. You can't let the adrenaline take over. You got to be watching for satellite tornadoes. You got to be watching if the tornado is going to shift its course, which way it's moving, and you have to take all these things into account. And also, the most importantly, have an escape route, because as we've learned in the past, tornadoes do have very chaotic motions at times. A lot of times they will maintain a straight path, and other times they have a mind of their own. And that brings me up to the next thing, where you can kind of gauge if a tornado is on a steady track or not. If it's got multiple vortices, dancing around, or it's a big wedge tornado, those are the ones you're going to want to keep your distance from. You can still get semi-close without putting yourself in danger, because wedge tornadoes, those things can expand and grow in seconds to over a mile wide, as we saw the Joplin tornado. It started out as a little multi-vortex tornado and expanded into a mile wide tornado in minutes. Those are kind of the tornadoes that you need to ask yourself, okay, is this close? Is this a safe tornado to get close to? And you have other examples like the Chapman, Kansas tornado. We got pretty close to that. We got about 100, 150 yards from that. But that tornado, when we got close to it, was in a drill bit to a fat stovepipe phase, and it had maintained a straight course east for the first 45 minutes of its life cycle. No super chaotic motions, kind of expand and then kind of shrink. And when it passes in front, those are the kind of tornadoes you can kind of gauge, okay, we can get a little bit closer to this. It's not behaving super oddly. It's moving slow. We have escape routes. There's not a ton of people around us. And it's stuff like that you have to ask yourself if you're wanting to get close to these tornadoes. If you're out there and you're busting out your windows from the wind and over again, not learning your lesson, or you have one close encounter, on an accident, because stuff like this happens. Dangerous stuff like this happens. Accidents happen. You can have an accident skydiving. You can have an accident driving to work. It's if you learn from it or not, and you own up to your mistakes.
Matt Crowther spent 33 years as a meteorologist at the Weather Channel. He also enjoys storm chasing, and like Aaron, was also tracking the tornado that nearly hit Chapman, Kansas in 2016. He agrees that it was easier to observe that tornado because it was in wide open country. Matt says how close is too close varies with each storm, but he has a general rule with where to position himself.
In general, I don't like to be any closer than maybe a half a mile to a mile. And besides, a lot of the times I like to get the whole storm structure in my lens from my camera. So, I might want to be a little bit further away. A perfect example is, in Kansas last year, there was a storm out in western Kansas that was just absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful from a distance. Now, and I got some of my best photographs I've ever taken of that particular cell. And there were other chasers that wanted to get right up close to the tornado because that's their goal. And they got some okay video of a tornado. It wasn't, like, oh my goodness, look at that really beautiful tornado, kind of like the Chapman or whatever, where it's really defined. It was kind of like wrapped in rain, and you could hardly see it, and you had to get right next to it. And so I much prefer being like 5 miles away from that storm. Even though I missed a couple tornadoes, I didn't really care about that.
Gabe Cox and his family live in Jacksonville, Florida. He's a member of Tornado Trackers, a group of friends who met in church and share a passion for chasing storms. Gabe says the bottom line when getting close to storms is that no matter the size of the tornado, you're still dealing with danger.
For me, just keeping in mind, storm chasing is inherently dangerous, and it's potentially deadly for a number of reasons, even outside of tornadoes. Anyone standing outside of their car near a supercell runs the risk of being struck by lightning, which is a far more unpredictable hazard than tornadoes. You have to keep in mind all of those hazards when you're talking about, putting your life at risk. It's not just tornadoes. There's really no right answer, to put it frankly. There are no laws prohibiting people from getting to within a certain radius of a tornado. So it really comes down to a matter of personal conviction, and that's always going to be different for every person. And the thing that everyone agrees on is that nobody is unaware that tornadoes are lethal. It's a fact that comes into play for everyone who decides they want to chase. But there are certainly people who underestimate their own mortality going into chasing. But I feel like those feelings are pretty easily put in check when you're face to face with a tornado. The most recent one for me was Wynnewood, being less than a quarter mile away from an EF4. You feel how insignificant you are and how frail you are. It was an interesting moment for me and the team. We didn't feel like we were in danger, but it was just that moment of recognizing your frailty. What I think is more destructive than someone deciding to get close to a tornado are chasers deciding to apply their own personal convictions to other people. So in my mind, that creates a rift that's a far greater hazard than anyone putting their own life at risk, because it's completely unproductive.
And that is exactly what is frustrating to emergency managers. When storm chasers get so close to a storm, they are willing to affect the lives of others who live near it. Chancey Smith is the Director of Emergency Management in Dickinson County, Kansas. He's a military veteran who spent 17 years in law enforcement. Chancey says his entire life has been serving the public.
If you want to get close and take the scariest picture in the world, what's online for you? Your life. Your life is online. Is it adrenaline rush? Absolutely. It is, and I get the same adrenaline rush, but mine is utter fear. I'm just scared to death, and I'm worried to death about the people that are going to be damaged by this storm. I don't want to be close. I want to be as far away as I can to track the storm safely and see the damage it's doing and give direction and path and where it's going. And that should be the key things that people are looking for in this. Just, where's it going? Is it on the ground or is it not on the ground? Where can I get to see this? I want to be behind it. I don't want to be in front of it or beside it. I don't want to get caught by it. Yes, you absolutely can get too close, and it's just unnecessary. It's so unnecessary.
Dickinson County, Kansas was most recently affected by the EF4 tornado that roared through the region on May 25, 2016. But it was also impacted during an outbreak of tornadoes on April 14, 2012.
The 2012 tornado, everybody followed the Solomon Road north. Well, once it got to K-18 highway, the storm went north a little bit more. But instead of turning on K-18 highway and trying to parallel it, people went straight, and the road was gravel. But it's only gravel for a half a mile, and then it turns to mud. So there's a house down there that at the end of the gravel, it's their driveway. So they estimated probably 200 people pulled in their private driveway and then turned around and then got back on the road. It cost them $1,000 to fix their driveway after that storm, to put new rock on it and to fix the ditches where everybody plowed into the mud and turned around in their private driveway. No one thinks about that. They get off the road and they tear up someone's field entrance or whatever. There's damage being caused by some people that do this. We had a wrecker service in town pulled out 10 vehicles after this storm. 5 of those 10 vehicles were rental cars from people from out of state that came to chase this storm, from as far as Connecticut. So, there is stuff happening that people are going places they shouldn't go. They don't know the roads they're traveling on. They don't know what's going to happen at the end of this road. Can I turn around? Can I get out? If you don't know those answers, stay on the pavement. Don't get off of the pavement.
Hannah Stambaugh lives 1 county to the west of Chancey Smith in Saline County, Kansas. She is the head of emergency management. 56,000 people live there, more than twice as many as in Dickinson County. Hannah says while it is her job to keep everyone safe, she doesn't quite understand the fascination about getting close to a tornado.
Too close is being anywhere near it, in my opinion. This is probably my biggest frustration, and especially even with news, is when we ask citizens, well, send us your pictures, send us your videos. Well, you're telling citizens to go outside when emergency responders are telling them to stay inside and be in their storm shelter. So we're sending mixed messages. That doesn't make any sense. Same thing with storm chasers being out there. I would say that if you're in the absolute crosshairs and you know that you're not in a safe place, then you're probably too darn close.
But even the most experienced in the entire field of meteorology are not exempt from the dangers of severe weather. On May 31st, 2013, Twistex scientist and engineer Tim Samaras, his son Paul, and researcher Carl Young were killed when a tornado near El Reno, Oklahoma, got bigger than anticipated. Has that event changed how close we get to a tornado? Storm chaser Scott Roberts says the growth of that tornado would have been difficult to predict.
I have to be honest with myself and realize that if I had a forecast slightly differently, I may have been right up in there. Even then, I wouldn't have been up in there, I don't think, intentionally that close. I don't think anybody could know that tornado was going to widen the way it did. And I really don't know if I had forecast correctly how closely I would have tried to play that. I do know as it got larger, if I was already out of the path, I would have stayed out of it and preferred to follow it from the west. But, those guys were there because that was their job to be there.
Aaron Rigsby believes as time has gone by, the El Reno event may not have changed the habits of storm chasers.
I think it changed some, but as a chase community as a whole, I honestly don't think it probably opened up enough eyes from what it should have, to be honest. It's kind of like a hard question to answer because, I think I've seen some people, that were traumatized by El Reno with good reason because there was lots of people that almost died today. And there's other people, that didn't necessarily have that really close encounter with El Reno, so it didn't affect them as much. And they're still, getting close. So I think as a whole, it probably didn't open up enough eyes.
Matt Crowther was optimistic that safety would become a priority after the May 31st, 2013 tragedy in El Reno.
Well, I really had some hopes that it might have had an impact on a couple of people, but really overall, the evidence shows that it's had no impact, really. Some of the same people that were very close there, I see getting very close again and chasing at night and things like that, and it's just, people, I'm not exactly sure why, but it didn't seem to have a big impact, at least is from what I can tell.
Gabe Cox of Tornado Trackers feels differently. He says El Reno has become a moment in history that has persuaded some chasers to respect nature.
Yeah, I think it absolutely had an impact on the chase community. I think El Reno reinforced what everyone already knew, is that storm chasing is potentially deadly. So it was a reality check for everyone. But I don't think anyone was unaware that storm chasing could be deadly. It was just a reminder that yes, this is a very dangerous thing that we're doing, and it forced everyone to ask if it's worth it. And I think a lot of people said no, it's not worth it. And I think there are some people who said that yeah, it is worth it.
There is an underlying concern that the race to get close to a storm might result in a tragedy, an accident that could kill a family passing by in the other lane, or high school students on the way to a spring prom. Could getting too close result in strict storm chase restrictions from the government? Saline County, Kansas Emergency Manager Hannah Stambaugh doesn't believe so.
I think that is opening a huge can of worms right there. I think there's way more issues with it than just lawmaking. The traffic laws are already in place. And once again, I said that, it doesn't matter just because it's a severe weather day, that doesn't mean the traffic laws change. Those traffic laws are in place, and they're in place for a reason. And we've seen multiple time and time again, the Highway Patrol, even putting it out on Twitter that, they've got their ticket books out, they're ready to go. They're not going to hesitate pulling somebody over for driving in unsafe conditions. And they do that. So I don't know that regulating it and making storm chasers have a license is the exact answer. I think it's more of a communication. I think it's more of an education. I think it's more of a relationship building issue more than anything. But then the other piece of it too is the societal want and need to have that instantaneous information and see those pictures and see the live video feeds, and that's something that's not going to change.
To understand someone wanting to take the risk of getting close to a tornado, you'd have to understand their motivation for it. Not everyone's desire is the same. Aaron Rigsby explains his love for watching tornadoes.
I don't get close because I want to get the best shot. I have to be the closest so I can brag about it. Me personally, I just love, there's something about being that close to such raw power, seeing that kind of motion and that kind of just power up close just gets me every time. And it's way different. I photograph tornadoes from, a mile away, quite a distance away for some structure shots. But when you get up close and you can hear that tornado and you can just feel the ground rumbling and just feel that kind of raw power, it not even from an adrenaline aspect, it's just a very humbling aspect. You're witnessing something that is just, it's beautiful, it's awesome, but you almost can't make sense of what's going on right now. You've never seen motion like that before. So for me personally, it's an addiction to seeing that kind of raw power just right in front of you, being there, experiencing that.
Meteorologist Matt Crowther says he also observes storms for the love of nature, but he believes some storm chasers purposely get too close for monetary reasons.
I think it's twofold. I think it's part of it is hits on their websites, and some of them have sell video, and they might want to sell video to CNN if they can get that shot of a barn getting ripped to shreds and stuff flying all over the place, and they can make a fair amount of money off of that type of thing. Now, some of the people that nearly got killed in El Reno probably ended up making a fair amount of money because of their close shave. I mean, I don't think, for me it's like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll make some money, but I don't want to get killed, certainly. And I think there's an adrenaline rush with certain people also, just kind of a thrill-seeking kind of aspect to it.
Emergency managers see things differently. They are afraid that carelessness from storm chasers could make them a statistic. It's one of the reasons Dickinson County Emergency Manager Chancey Smith says he was heavily criticized after his comments went viral during a tornado outbreak in Kansas in 2012. There's another concern in storm chasing: getting too close to the damage. A newspaper reporter contacted Chancey on April 14th, 2012.
He called me on this day when the 2012 tornado is going through, and people are everywhere. Every road you turn on, there's cars. And we get up to K-18 highway where this tornado is turning, and if you would turn and go west into Ottawa County, it hit a transformer station, and a natural gas area was together there. And it blew all of the power lines down onto the highway. So for a mile, there were high-tension lines laying on the highway, and it had hit a natural gas substation where it comes up, and a booster station where they pump it, and one of the poles had hit the pipe and was leaking natural gas blowing across the highway. And there were chasers driving over the power lines so they could get down to the natural gas station to take pictures of it. And I'm on the phone with the newspaper, and I was like, these guys are idiots. I can't believe they're such morons doing this, And I would have said it about anybody doing something as idiotic as that. And, of course, that's what he published in the paper and said, Dickinson County EM calls chasers idiots and morons. And then the hate mail began. But that's what happened. That's what was going on at the time when I was on the phone with him, and I was looking at this, watching this, and I'm thinking, it's going to blow up and it's going to kill everybody down there, and where are we going from this? So that was what made me get some media coverage from chasers hating me.
Hayesville, Kansas storm chaser Scott Roberts says developing relationships with area law enforcement and emergency managers is the answer. He believes it creates trust while still enjoying his passion.
The biggest reasons that I chase have to do with my contribution to the warning process. If there is some difficulty with my technology or something, I have been known to sit out days because I knew when I got in the field I wouldn't be able to communicate much more than just on the phone what was going on. There have been a couple of times in the last couple of years that my video has actually led to severe thunderstorm warning decisions instead of tornado warning decisions. And, so I know that the video that I'm providing, and I'm also on NWS chat, and so the information that I'm providing through those two venues to the National Weather Service and ultimately to the public are playing a role in the warning process.
Chancey Smith in Dickinson County hopes by sharing the stories about storm victims, he can help storm chasers understand what he deals with. One such story occurred on May 25th, 2016.
It was a long traveling tornado. People were fleeing the tornado. I never recommend that someone would do this, but my goodness, I think it did save lives this time, that people got in their vehicles and drove away. We had some people get in their car with their children and were leaving their house to get away from the tornado coming. Their mother had called them, said it just went by our house, you guys need to get out of there. They loaded up in their car, they came to the end of the driveway, and there's people parked in the end of their driveway out of their vehicle taking pictures of the storm coming. The husband yells at him. They said, "We're almost done. Hold on a minute." The husband wanted to inflict violence on these people in a bad way. He really was going to hurt them. He was going to crash into their car. He was upset. Finally, they moved and everybody got out and went on. But I don't understand the mindset of someone trying to flee a storm that can kill them and, "Oh, give us a few more minutes. We just want to take another picture." That is beyond belief for me. I don't understand how they could do that.
And that same day, there was another incident when a tornado affected the life and property of some of his dearest friends.
I have two brothers and a dad that I'm really good friends with. They mean the world to me. They're like family. The dad had cancer surgery and was just coming home recovering. He had died twice in the hospital. They had to cardiovert him to get him back. They get him home. He's doing good. He's recovering. He goes to Salina, does some shopping, and comes home on the day the tornado's coming. He beats the tornado home by 15 minutes. They get home, their house is hit and completely destroyed by the tornado while they're in it. All the walls in the house are gone except the closet and the bedroom where they're at, and they're beat up by rocks. They needed ambulance help. I'm actually at the son's house eating supper, fixing supper for him, because his wife was killed by a car in St. Louis while they were visiting the dad doing cancer surgery. So this family's had so much loss. I'm going over to intercept this storm to follow it through our county. And this is the storm that went 26 miles on the ground across our county. I'm getting over there, and I hear on the radio that their house is hit, destroyed, they're hurt, they need an ambulance, so they're sending an ambulance over there. Well, after this is all said and done, I get with my county administrator. We all have cameras in our vehicles that while we're driving, everything's recorded in front of us. And my county administrator has one in his truck, and he's going north out of Solomon towards this to intercept this tornado as it's coming into our county. And the spotters are lined up alongside of the road. You can see the tornado on his camera just as it hits my friend's house, and you could see the debris going up into the cloud. And on the side of the road, there's a big truck, and there's wind meters and gauges and antennas and radar setting on this truck, and there are 4 guys standing in front of it. And one of them has his hands above his head, jumping up and down, cheering. I just wanted to cry. I was so upset. I'm like, really? That's fun for you? My friends who've lost everything, now they've lost everything in their life out there at their house, and you're cheering. I don't understand that concept at all. It's more than I can think. I just don't understand.
There are storm chasers and emergency officials who want solutions so everyone can achieve their goals. Some of the mistakes by storm chasers are more commonly made by those who are new at the hobby. Gabe Cox of Tornado Trackers shares some advice.
Know your risks. This whole episode is about, weighing the risks. So know your risks when you're going out. I would keep a distance from tornadoes until you have a full grasp of real-life storm chasing, because it's one thing to chase from behind a computer screen or just track it on radar scope, but it's way different when you're out there. And find a mentor who can teach you the ropes on the go. There are plenty of storm chasers who are willing to let new storm chasers right along and learn the ropes.
Saline County Emergency Manager Hannah Stambaugh says both sides getting to know each other better is truly the answer. It's an opportunity to be closely acquainted.
If you're going to be in our county, stop in and say hi. Stop in and shake my hand. At least I can put a face to the name. I can maybe get to know you a little bit better. We can find out how it is that you and I can work together, how we are going to communicate. If I know you better, then I'll give you my direct cell phone number, and you can call me. If you have the ability to get into National Weather Service chat, that's a really good opportunity as well. But I think it's just I think the key piece of it is the relationship building. In my job, we always say that it's better to exchange business cards during peacetime than it is wartime, and that's definitely true. If I can get to know you beforehand and get to know who you are and what you do and how you feel and how you operate, I certainly feel better about having you in my community.
Next on Tornado Talk, March 2nd and 3rd, 2012. Multiple tornadoes ripped through the southern U.S. and the Ohio Valley, including 2 EF4s. It became one of the deadliest March tornado outbreaks in history. Madness in March on episode 31 of Tornado Talk.